Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the City Confessions. We are joined by Stephanie Rommelt. She is the director and founder of Her Studio New York, which is a creative agency connecting upcoming brands with emerging creatives to build conceptual imagery. So, that in and itself is a story that I definitely excited to dive in. But before we do, hi, Stephanie. How are you? And welcome to my show.
Hi, Marianne. I'm doing so good over here. I'm really excited to be on this podcast, not only because it's diving into New York City, something that's really been able to shape myself as a woman and as well my career. So thank you so much for having me, Marianne.
Absolutely. And your company is called Her Studio New York. And I love that there's New York in it because over here we love talking to people living in New York or just like building their brand, starting their life in New York. So why don't you introduce yourself to my listeners, tell us who you are, and of course, your relationship with New York City.
Yeah, of course. So, Her Studio New York is a creative agency that I created about 2 years ago. It's been an ever changing journey of being able to grow with small businesses, focusing on growing with women owned businesses. So, we are a creative agency, and essentially, we help businesses plan photo shoots from start to finish. Ever since my education at FIT that was able to kind of get me into the space of knowing, you know, being able to grow and work with brands from my experience of interning with sustainable women owned businesses, independent designers, as well as popping into that little corporate sector too. That also, I will give it to, it definitely did impact and learn from those types of things. So, yeah.
Amazing. So when you were in FIT, did you study photography or what was your actual field of interest?
Yeah, so I studied advertising marketing
Okay.
communication. So I was actually not in the photography program. I was in marketing, which I always loved to do, and that was at my first instinct what I thought my career path was going to go along. But as we know, with marketing and this creative agency that I've conceptualized, all of that has been huge with the creative direction that I now do for my company. So. I consider myself a creative director, producer, and all of that kind of marketing expertise guides me to this
Mhm.
day. Every single project to be able to influence the brand campaigns, and that really just connects the mission into how we translate the visual marketing.
Mhm. And you said you started this 2 years ago. So if I'm doing the math correctly, that was basically during the pandemic.
Yes,
Okay, tell me about that. Was it?
exactly.
Mhm.
So, I actually the year before was working at a company, and just literally at the right timing, I decided, kind of right before the pandemic hit, I decided I wanted to already go off on like more of my freelance journey that I had started right after college. I then took a year a marketing coordinator job at a lingerie company. But then after that year, it was really clear to me, kind of like, for me at least, like kind of sitting at a desk as a creative, it was really limiting to me. And coming from a background of working with independent designers and working in a space where it was very female empowerment oriented, as well as sustainable, it became so much more clear to me that I wanted my values to line up with what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, so shout out to Paulette Guzman, who is the designer that has definitely been huge influence on where my career path has gone. And that was, one of many examples that I felt like I always kind of always compared it back to that. And I thought that was my chance to kind of step out and go towards my freelance
Mhm.
kind of part of my life. And then it kind of transitioned into more of me building my small business. So in 2020, then of course, the pandemic hit, and I had just moved into a different neighborhood in New York, because that's another thing about New York. You're always going to be moving.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely true for me throughout my experience in New York. But I feel like it always kind of like leads you in the right place you're supposed to be. So while in Greenpoint, in this cute little apartment basement, I actually was able to start formulating that. My dream of being an entrepreneur was not, so far ahead. I was I feel like always taught in school that, you need to have like the experience first to be able to go out and do your own thing. But I think that it was like a reality check that I was able to just, think about, be confident into what I know and what I've experienced, and feeling like it was time that I can embark on, saying that, wow, I'm a small business owner. I am a creative director, and that like my voice really matters in times that sometimes in a table that I feel like I wasn't heard. And so I think I was just really ready to like make, I guess, be heard and like make my voice known, and stand by the things that was really important to me and I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that was the only way that I thought I could. Like I wanted to I wanted to be able to start leading a network of creatives that were kind of in the same boat as I am. So a lot of multifaceted creatives that I knew just from being friends throughout the city all this time of connecting with people, let alone, close friends. In the pandemic, I just started basically organizing these photo shoots, really trying to be able to build the portfolio, work with various photographers, various models. So ranging across, all kinds of spectrums, even creatives that cross over different, titles. So I saw like the potential in emerging creatives, maybe with people that didn't even don't have the chance, to get in these spaces where they feel like their work is really impactful. So at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to foster that and be able to come together as a community and definitely collaborate in a way that it's like I feel like that's really truly collaborating, not just the essence of the words is a kind of like always like overly used. But I feel like true collaboration is being able to have everybody, being in one room contributing to the idea. And I think that's always where the best result comes out to be.
I love hearing that. I mean, there were a lot of things that stood out to me. I think one, you talked about timing, and I think you could look at it in both ways. Like there is really never the right timing to kind of take the
Yeah.
risk and to kind of embark on your entrepreneurial journey. But at the same time, I feel like your gut will tell you when to take that leap. So I love hearing
Yeah.
that. And then also you were just so I think how do I say, like clear on your vision, which is so admirable because you knew kind of exactly what type of brands you wanted to partner up with, what type of agency you wanted to create. And I think having that foundation sets you up for success. So that is so amazing. And also, do you live in Greenpoint right now?
Right beside there, actually, in Long Island City.
Okay,
Yeah,
amazing. So
but I
yeah,
do.
I'm in Williamsburg and Greenpoint, like the coast, like I'm by
Yeah,
McCarran Park. But you were
love it.
talking about moving, and it's funny because my lease is up soon, like the next
Oh my
month.
God. Yeah. Yeah,
So yeah, I feel you.
going through that now. I think
Mhm.
I wonder how many times I've moved in the city. Um, Partly because I was moving dorms whenever I was in college.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It was probably coming up on like moving once every year, I would say.
yeah. And this is what like New Yorkers bond on. It's like leasing, terms, rent, all of
And then
it.
still somehow we still just are like, yep, it's worth it. Like,
I know, we're crazy.
yeah.
Okay, so let's bring it back to your journey. I know you've started your company 2 years ago, but I'm sure you ran into a million challenges. What
Mm.
has been the biggest one that you think about and you're like, Oh my God, that was insane, but obviously you got through it. Tell me about that
Yeah,
challenge.
definitely. So I think that right when you said that, there's probably like a lot of different angles we
Mhm.
could go on, but I think that I will touch on this because it's probably one of the most relatable. So I feel like in general, with building my company, um, I'm essentially like a one woman ran business. Aside from all of the creatives that we work with on the project. Um,
Mhm.
but with that and that being said, of course, you are dealing with a lot of challenges in your personal life, or you have to have that balance. So I think with the challenges come with just being able to like maintain your mental health, being able to stay balanced and stay productive when you're going through something else, whether it could be related to your career or maybe it's happening in your personal life, family, whatever. So I think that was like the biggest challenge to overcome is how, like I'm a mid 20s, okay, 27, so maybe not mid anymore, but like we are, um, we're trying to get through all these different challenges in our own life that you then have to also come through on your business because at the end of the day it's you, and if these things don't get done, you don't get paid, things
Mhm.
don't go through, and you need to be self-reliable, self-determined. So with any kind of challenge that I've gone through, let's say that um, any technical problem, having to do with, photos or logistics, things like that. It's always something that I try to, um, I know that if I can get through all these things, that I can solve this problem. So anytime that I kind of get into a challenge at work, then I know reflect on myself and know that, like basically if there's a will, there's a way, and that I try as much as possible to make everything come together. And I think that as long as I can hold on to my foundation, that everything will be fine, and that knowing that you will figure it out, and good things happen like to good people, and those things will align, just like you were saying. Even timing, super huge as well.
I share a similar mindset to you, and I feel like I'm the same way. But you did mention mental health and like your well-being, which is something that I definitely want to explore more on because I'm such an advocate for that, especially, even pre-pandemic, during pandemic, like with therapy, I'm very open about my experience. And I know that being an entrepreneur, it can be very lonely sometimes because like you just mentioned, you are a one-woman ran business.
Mm-hmm.
So there comes a point sometimes when all you have is yourself. Like when you were saying, if you're running through problems or whatever the case is, it's like you have nobody to kind of blame but you
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you're responsible for working like 10-hour shift or 2-hour shift. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you get the flexibility to create your own schedule. But with that being said, that comes with managing your mental health as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess what is your advice on balancing that, especially since it's not really like a company, it's like yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
then I sometimes find like the bleeding in between being a freelancer, podcast host, entrepreneur, whatever title, I want to place on myself, but then me as like Marianne, as a human being, as a person.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I feel like there's often maybe we're breaking down this stigma a little bit more, that like we're supposed to separate our personal life and our career.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally like there's definitely like gray areas, but for me, I think part of what has set me apart and what has got me to this point is being able to like celebrate who I am and like put it, not be afraid of um I guess like not separating myself and my business too much. Like I am both of those things, a fusion of my company and who I am. And I like to put that, that emotion, the passion into my business. So, I mean, one thing you'll know about me, like I'm going to put my whole heart into it. But with that, sometimes it's the cost of like your mental health and it's even more like, I guess a little bit of stress, but also good anxiety too. So, all those so many challenges, we'll definitely get on to talk about the amazing things about it. But when, like I said, when you're kind of being able to, when that is a focus for you to be able to celebrate yourself and fuse it together with your company. There's a lot of things that you might have to do or work on in yourself. So I think that it's all something that has helped me is definitely having a strong support system. Whether or not that is a therapist that you talk to, or if it's, your sister. Mine could be my sister. Even if it's, your friend or a family member, or even, therapists in general, like whoever that is for you. I think that everybody needs somebody to lean on, to talk to just like let it out and to be able to talk about those things. Because if you are, working by yourself a lot of the time, then sometimes it's you go crazy and you're like, I just want an opinion, even in the very
Right.
smallest things. You like just want things to bounce your ideas off of, or talk about, or kind of think about. I guess you get a little bit of self-doubt. I guess that's also kind of a thing too. And so that's another advantage, like having a team. So I think it's really just being able to still have an avenue and a channel to express yourself and to get feedback. Um, and yeah, I would say so. Support, it would be the long story short on that.
No, I agree. I think having support is really, really important. So let's shift gears because you did talk about on the flip side. So let's talk about the highlights so far. What moment stands out to you in your career
Mm.
so far?
Oh, it's like literally, and I say this with every single person, but like every shoot I do, I'm like, oh my God, this was my favorite, because I'm just like, the adrenaline is like
Mm-hmm.
after it, and it's also like validation of like all these things that might come in the way, or those challenges. It always ends up to be worth it. And so I would say like the things that stick out to me always come back to that like feeling of after you kind of finish a photo shoot and you are like, oh my God, wow, that's so amazing. And, everyone else feels it too. Being able to cultivate that community in our space is really important. And is that one thing. I can't say that I like think about this one time where I'm like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
I worked with this one brand. It's like, it's not about, just like those huge kind of like milestones. It's about like working with each brand and making it special for themselves, because they are so unique in every single way. There's
Mm-hmm.
like, not one time that the the people in the team didn't like not only like surprise me, but like made me feel like, and I definitely hope this is true for everybody else, but made you feel loved and happy while you're doing your work. So that's the only thing I could ever ask for is feeling like I love what I do and making
Mm-hmm.
work essentially feel not like work.
Right, definitely. That's definitely like the life
That's
goal. So I want to ask if you are happy right now.
yeah, I feel really happy right now. Even just like, for example, opportunities like this that come around, this even makes me happy. And like, I think it's all about the little things, like each step in your career and your journey, I think is accumulation kind of how you will be, kind of as if somebody asks you if you're happy, then you kind of look back on all these little things and you're like, whoa, I'm just, like so grateful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, but it's cool. And um, even when, let's say, for example, if you are, if you are feeling like, you're not happy in a moment, that's another thing that it's so important to do, to like look back and be like, wow, I have all these things that I'm blessed with. So I think like, living in New York can be really hard sometimes. And, whether you're in New York or another city, like being, you know, starting your career, or, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are, you just got that promotion, like all those things are to be celebrated no matter what your path is, which is all different for everyone.
Hearing you speak, I feel like you have a really positive mindset and a good head on your shoulders. Where do you think your groundedness comes from?
Let's see here. I would say, see, this is what I'm saying, but anyway, I think it's just like, I guess internally myself, and a combination of just different influential people in my life. Um, my mom, my sister, um, my boyfriend, who has been a huge supporter as well, my friends throughout this whole thing. Yeah, so I could just not like be more thankful for them.
Mhm.
Um, because they've seen like um different life stages for me, seen evolution the same for them, and I always want to be able to be the same support, give the same support as them. And so it's just like I want to be strong for other people as well. And yeah, so I just have to give it to a lot of the women in my life.
Mhm.
Um, and again, like that is, um, I do it for a lot of women who are unrepresented as well in the media. Um, and yeah, so, and it's also like I'm inspired by all these people, and I think that their their passions, all their accomplishments, come kind of like impact me a lot, and I try to take it in as much as possible and be able um to use some of the privileges that I have to be able to also put them forward. Um, and I think it's just like the beauty of women and being able to see like how strong they are.
I admire your transparency and your emotions. And again, I don't know you that well, but I just feel very moved by how in touch you are with your emotions and your ability to communicate them. And I always believe like people come into your life for a reason, even if it's like an encounter, like a podcast interview, but there is this like synergy with our energy.
I know.
And I always respect and admire women as well who are very self-aware and are very strong-minded. And I just want to take a moment now to just send you, my light and say that I see you and I recognize like what you're doing. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. So I'm so honored that you're here and able to tell your story.
And you too.
And my podcast is called The City Confessions.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share a confession if you can. And just to preface this, in every single episode, it's however you receive it and whatever calls to you in terms of sharing. This
Mm,
can be surface level, deep, personal, professional, whatever. There are no rules. But
mm.
Stephanie, if you can share a city confession, what would that be?
Oh man. Confession wise, I think that I guess I'd just go in the lane of like, what is most relevant to me, and what, instead of like a confession, I think it would be kind of more like opening the light on something that is really real, and I think that's manifestation.
Mhm.
um like it's a buzzword we always talk about, but it's something that I guess I would like to also end this on, and to like go back to that, and it's really about like believing things, like seeing it happen, and you can get there um if you see it, you write it out, you however you want to do it, like
Mhm.
you will get to that point, even if there are, trials and things like that. You know, whatever somebody tells you, that tells you can't do something or whatever, like, in your heart, like, what is the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
what is for you. If you don't know, like, your path, um clearly yet, you're definitely going to find it. You don't have to like worry and just more kind of try to lean into what makes you happy in that moment, because those things are going to reveal so much to you. And so just say, like, keep believing, like, when, even in like times of, feel like it can be the worst thing ever, like, you will definitely get through it and you will see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. And I just think that, like, it's important for everybody to know, like, you can do anything you set your mind to. Especially, like, there's obviously a saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Um,
Yes.
I think that really puts people to the test sometimes. So, but
Yeah.
I think that maybe is true. But on another thing, it's like, if you can make it, like, what's your definition of make it? And then I think it's all literally up to you. So, like, all these expectations that people see of you, especially in like a high pressure city like this, or like maybe a lot of competition, or let's say, like, what's the secret to a success, which is kind of like where I see, like, what a city confession. And I think it's, there's no secret to it. Like, you have those answers inside you, and you'll be able to uncover them. It just takes time.
Hmm. No, I'm such a huge believer in manifestation. And also, I was reading a lot about like the law of assumption, which actually apparently trumps the law of attraction, which is basically just like assuming that you have whatever you have already or that you want. So instead of being like, I'm attracting this, you already are living in the being and mindset that everything already exists. So like for me, for example, like I'm obviously stressing out about my apartment, but I'm like, I close my eyes and just like what you were saying, like visualization, it's like I already found my place. You know what I mean? So like I'm good. And like, is it happening right this second? No. But do I have doubts that it will happen? No. Like I know it will. So I think it is important for listeners to like walk away with just like the power of visualization. And like it
Yeah.
honestly starts with the mind. It's like what you said, if you can dream it, see it, or whatever, envision it, you're literally like programming yourself in this crazy universe, right? Of like being on the path to achieving it.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, if you can't dream it, then it's just not possible. But the fact that you can dream it, and I sound so cheesy right now, but
But it's
it's
so
like,
true. Yeah,
yeah, no. So I'm on the same wavelength as you.
I know, and I can see that as well. Um, yeah, it's really insane. It's like, you find yourself in one moment, and then the other, and you're like, okay, that did like align. Like, maybe, life was supposed to teach me something, and then,
Mhm,
or to never give up,
mhm,
um, and to really just prioritize the things that matter, which are your health, your safety, and, making memories and being
mhm.
happy, trying to be as like lighthearted as possible. And, um, like, when my dad calls, it's always just like, okay, just don't stress about anything. And so I like always remember that. I'm like, okay, don't
Mhm,
try not to stress about anything, because
mhm.
things will work. Things Good things happen to good people. And it's just true.
I love it. So I end every episode with like a fire round of New York City questions. I'll ask 5 questions and you answer it with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really simple.
One word.
Yeah.
Oh,
So favorite thing about New York?
the food.
Worst thing about New York?
The prices.
Yes, I love that. Describe New York City in one word.
Eclectic.
What's your go-to spot?
Oh man, it's probably gonna come down to food. So I'm gonna say, actually, no. Public parks. I really love, like Gantry Park, Domino Park. So anything outdoors, as much nature I can get in the city.
Love it. Domino is not too far from me. I also like Transmitter Park in
So
Greenpoint. Yeah, it's really nice.
I was
And if you can thank New York City for one thing, what would it be?
the lessons, I guess.
Hmm.
Even though sometimes, I don't want I'm like I'm gritting my teeth when I say that. Like I could do without a few, but the lessons, the people, that goes together, of course. So the amazing people that I've met along the way, and also the people I'll, meet in the future as well.
Hmm. And what are you currently working on that you can share? Are there any secret projects? This is your chance to kind of plug away.
Yeah. So I've recently been working on some editorials, some brand campaigns, of course, model portfolio shoots, which are like three of our main services and the photo shoots that we usually gear towards. But I think one that I'm really excited about is going to be on September 1st. We have a group of creatives that we're highlighting, and they're going to be able to kind of share like what their mission is and how we can stand together. So that's just a little brief moment on that, but we will definitely be releasing once it's all submitted, which is a little different than a typical photo shoot because we'll be posting like a lot of behind the scenes and stuff, but we'll probably lay a little low on that until it's submitted, and then we'll be really excited to share where it's going to be by the end of it. But yeah, just a few group editorials that we've put in a lot of work to make it happen.
Very exciting. And this episode is actually going to go live after September 1st. So I'm sure by then,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
you'll have things up. But
yeah.
regardless, if you're watching this or listening to this, make sure you expand on the show notes because I will have all of Stephanie's updated information regarding her studio in New York. And my last question for you before we fully wrap this up
Mhm.
is what is your superpower?
I think it is. I would say supporting women. I don't know if a superpower is being inspired by women, but like trying to aspire and be inspired by women. In short.
Such a good full circle moment to take us back to sharing your story. And I'm sure everybody can tell that you are so, so, so passionate about what you do. And it definitely shows. So again, I admire you for that. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come speak with me and my audience. I'm sure everybody receives something beneficial from this episode. And if you're watching or listening, make sure you share this with a friend, rate this, and make sure you follow Stephanie and follow everything that she's doing in the show notes with the description below. And with that being said, I'll see you all next week. All right, bye.
Bye.